Hi there, I'm Sue Resig, and today we're going to talk about tips that you can do that are Gerson approved to help in case you have nausea or an upset stomach. And the first tip that Gerson recommends is peppermint tea. And peppermint tea is an easy solution and it tastes good. All you need is a heaping tablespoon of the dry peppermint and 2 cups of boiling water. Let it steep for 10 to 12 minutes and you can sip on that and that'll help settle your tummy. Another suggestion that Gerson has for your peppermint tea is to keep a thermos of it by your bedside at night. If you wake up thirsty, this gives you something that you can drink. In Gerson therapy, you're not allowed to drink plain water because it dilutes the minerals in your system from the juices that you're drinking. But you are allowed to have teas. And 2 approved teas that you're allowed to have are peppermint and chamomile. You're not allowed to drink any regular teas like black tea or white tea or green tea because of the caffeine, and there's actually fluoride in some of those. So you don't want to be drinking regular teas, but you can have these 2 chamomile and peppermint tea for drinking. But you can have the peppermint tea for your tummy. Then another solution, or at least a suggestion by Gerson therapy, is to have what's called gruel. Now, I believe in Europe, gruel is a common term for this, I'll call it an oat broth. In the U.S., we're not that familiar with gruel, and the sounds of gruel doesn't sound very appetizing to us in our American sensibilities. So if we were to call it an oat broth, I think we would relate and think, oh, broth, that sounds good. So the way to make this oat gruel or oat broth to settle your tummy is to use a half a cup of oatmeal, and you can use the same oatmeal that you would eat for breakfast, 3 cups of water, combine them in your pot, and you're going to bring it to a boil and then turn it down low to simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. I just took this off the stove. It's finished simmering, and it just makes a nice loose, almost like a soup. And what you do is you strain it. So we're going to take our hot broth and we're going to strain the oatmeal out of it. Now, here's 2 things to know about this. If you're at the stage where some people have very sensitive digestion and they don't tolerate the oatmeal, I'm a person who's had a hard time putting the oatmeal into my diet for Gerson therapy. I haven't really been able to do it successfully on a regular basis. It's too upsetting for my digestion. However, I do tolerate the gruel. I tolerate this oatmeal broth, and it's been very helpful, especially in the beginning when my tummy was upset. So this is how I would drink it. I would just strain it, put it in my mug, and drink it. And it's very soothing. I tell you, I would have a quart of this on some of those days where my tummy was very upset. This was my best friend. And I would just be sipping on this all day. And it really does settle. It must coat your tummy. I think that's how it works. It coats the inside of your stomach so that when those toxins are coming in and the bile's coming in, it's not as irritating, perhaps. But it's very tasty. It's got a pleasant flavor. And it's very tolerable. Even if you don't tolerate oatmeal, you'll probably tolerate the broth. And for someone who does normally tolerate the oatmeal, they recommend actually pushing on it to try and get some of that, to come through. I have to admit, I'm not real successful at this. Maybe I should have cooked it to 15 minutes. They say 10 to 15. I cook this for about 10 because I typically don't try to push any of the pulp through. But for someone whose tummy does tolerate the oatmeal better, they recommend pushing this, kind of just working it through a little bit so that you get a little bit more texture. There's some little more texture, and you would add that in so that you have a thicker broth. There we go. So that's going to put just a little more thickness in there. But I tell you, even without it, it's always worked very well for me just that way. And that's very easy to do. Just add half a cup of oatmeal and 3 cups of water. Simmer it 10 to 15 minutes and strain it and then sip on this. It's very good. I hope those 2 suggestions help you with your tummy in case it's been getting upset. And another thing you can do to help if you're having a hard time, or particularly hard time with keeping your juices down or with your tummy staying settled and drinking the juices, you can let the gruel, the oatmeal broth, cool down to room temperature, and you would just use 2 ounces of it. And 2 ounces is the same amount as a 1/4 cup, okay? You'd take that and mix 6 ounces of juice, your fresh squeezed juice, mix it together and then drink that. You don't want more than a total of 8 ounces. Your total should be 8 ounces, but 2 ounces would be the gruel, the oatmeal broth, remember, brought down to room temperature, and then 6 ounces of your juice blended, and that's going to help your tummy as well. That will help it tolerate the juices a little better if you're going through a tough time. And I do want to put this in because people will ask, what kind of oatmeal do you use? I use the old-fashioned oatmeal, and I have 2 different kinds I like. You don't have to use these brands. These are just the brands that I use. And this one I like to use for breakfast oats, and this is the one I like to use for the pizza that I make. This particular brand, the Merchants, Organic Merchants, works better with the potato for making the pizza crust. And this one works better for breakfast. So there's my dinner bell. I gotta go. See you later.